Today, music and movies are synonymous to each other, even if you don't know it. When you hear a song on the radio, very seldom does it go without a music video. When you watch a film, it's the music that sets the mood and enhances your experience. In fact, in the early years of cinema, that is all that movies were. The combination of imagery and music to create a new art form. A perfect example of this would be the theme from the 1919 German Expressionist film, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. This film shows many of the traits from the musical Romantic period, the major one being the combination of all the forms of art which define that period. The artistic sets and atmosphere, added with the eerie accompaniment, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari sets a milestone in film history and remains a true definition of the German Expressionist era. After the advent of the sound film, filmmakers didn't find the need for a musical accompaniment in their movies anymore. So, for a brief period in time, movies went from music with no dialogue to all dialogue and no music. I bring this up only to show how essential music is to film. One of the most famous films made in the musicalist era was the 1931 Universal Studios film Dracula. Aside from the opening title card sequence, the film goes entirely without music. Which may not sound so drastic, but in the long atmospheric shots, the absence of music seems to make it drag. No dialogue, no music, only silence. Just goes to show how empty a movie is without music to back it up. Eventually, Hollywood got it right and found the perfect mixture of music, dialogue, and imagery. However, in my opinion, it was perfected in 1960, when Alfred Hitchcock created the thriller classic Psycho. Through most of the 30s and on, movies had begun to learn how to underscore music in order to go along with what they were shooting. Mr. Hitchcock, however, not only used music to fill the void, but utilized it to manipulate his audience. The film's most famous scene is of course the shower sequence, in which the lead character, Marion Crane, is stabbed while in the shower. A bonus feature on the DVD takes an interesting look at how the music helps intensify the scene by showing first the music with the scene, and then without. The difference it makes is shocking. Aside from the shower scene, the most terrifying work is the opening theme, which alone can send chills down your spine. Now that I have shown you the background of these two pieces and their place in film history, let's take a look at the works themselves. As I said before, Dr. Caligari was made at the very end of the Romantic era, where Psycho is made in the modern 20th century era. Dr. Caligari's theme is performed with a single piano bouncing around in an eerie melody, whereas Psycho is a full-string orchestra, going from quick and choppy to drawn out and flowing. In Psycho's theme, its rhythmic style is very similar to Dr. Caligari in that staccato notes and fast tempo. But as I said before, they are very different in their form. In Caligari, it is a single piano, which, while still producing the same sort of rhythm, lacks the power behind the orchestra of Psycho. In the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, it will have a period of quick notes, then slow down for a while. This contrast is a great way to mix the mood with the music, but once again, I think it lacks the intensity Psycho brings to the table. Where Psycho has those moments of slow eeriness, it also has those moments where the chirping of the violins accompanies the slow drawn-out notes. This allows the piece to slow down while still maintaining the high intensity in the tone that Caligari loses. Next, let's take a look at the melodies of these two pieces. Obviously, the piano takes the melody in Caligari, as the first violin takes it in Psycho. The melody in both works mostly consists of staccato notes, but in Caligari, these notes are in triplets, where in Psycho they are 16th notes. As far as harmony goes, I mentioned before that in Caligari the piano will sometimes harmonize with itself, and in Psycho, a second slow drawn-out violin will combine with the quick choppy first violin to create a beautiful harmony. When talking about tone, it is no doubt both these pieces were created to induce fear and anxiety, and they both definitely accomplished this. The texture in both is, as I said earlier, jagged and choppy, as well as smooth and flowing in parts. Now that I have evaluated the rhythm, melody, harmony, form, timbre, and texture of these two pieces, let me take a quick analysis of the two films from which they originate. Let us start off with one of my personal favorite films, Psycho. This film is truly the master of suspense at his finest, combining his always impressive directing style with some revolutionary ideas. When this film was first released, Mr. Hitchcock made it to where no one was allowed to be seated after the film had already begun its opening credit sequence. Why? Well, because Mr. Hitchcock had done the unthinkable. He killed off his lead actress not even midway through the film. This was simply unheard of at the time, and Hitchcock knew this, and didn't want people to come in late and wonder where Janet Leigh was. Another revolutionary influence this film made was in the shower sequence. This scene was the reason Psycho was filmed in black and white. For if Hitchcock had done it in color, the film would have been too gory for the time. Now that might sound a little silly by today's standards, but back in the 60s, that was a pretty hardcore moment in cinema history. It is often debated what the first slasher film was, but in my opinion, there is no doubt that Psycho was the original, and opened the way for the modern gore fest. The story itself is quite amazing, and the twist ending is really what makes this film so impressive. While I'd love to go more into detail about the story, it's kind of hard to talk about without giving anything away, and Psycho is really an experience everyone must see for themselves. With The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, its influence on film is in a different genre and a different way. The story is told from the perspective of an inmate from an insane asylum and follows the mad scientist Dr. Caligari and his creation Caesar. Caesar falls in love with a beautiful woman who is terrified of him. This Beauty and the Beast tale will be reused throughout the rest of film history, inspiring films like King Kong and The Creature from the Black Lagoon. Where this film really shines, however, is its artistic imagery. The intense atmosphere and mood never stops as you are sucked into this incredible monument to film. Music and movies are an incredible duo that have continued to entertain billions for over 100 years, and will continue to do so for many more years to come.